I've been coming to Mysore about 10 years, and I've been driving a motorcycle or scooter for most of those years. A year ago, I was driving to see His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I was driving, I was thinking about my practice, and I saw this car pull in front of me, and then I noticed smoke coming from the back of the tires, and then immediately I thought, oh shit. And the next thing I knew, I slammed the brakes and went flying, and I saw the world turn end over end, and I was lying in the road. With the yoga practice, it had seemed like, because I was doing more and more advanced postures, like I felt in my mind like I could somewhat just override my body, like I could tell it what to do. And in that moment, I couldn't tell it what to do. I was in so much pain. I tried to get up, and then it failed me. I tried again, and it failed. And then I knew I was really in trouble.
I was at KBJ practicing, and John was there too. Most days we were there next to each other practicing. And I'm seeing John working, trying to nail one of these advanced asanas, and Sharat giving him a hard time. Next day, I see John in the hospital after a motorcycle crash. None of us knowing if he is going to be an invalid or if the doctors are going to be able to stitch him up.
And I got a phone call from him that went to voicemail, and he just said, you know, it's me, and I'm in an Indian hospital, and I'm going to have to get surgery. It was just sort of a very succinct message. And of course I was, you know, terrified and so far away and not able to do anything, but just his voice even then was so calm and steady, and just there was a positive tone in it that it was such a comfort to me at that time.
And they told me I broke my femur and my hand in 3 places. So I was in the ICU and a lot of pain, and the guy next to me, he had been in a motorcycle accident, and he actually died while I was in the ICU. And the other guy was also in an accident, and he was like having like a blood transfusion. It was very crazy. And one of my students, Catherine, came to me, and there was this moment of just having put so much effort into this practice, and also so much love and effort into teaching, that I just felt like completely wiped out, like there was nothing left. It was a very, very sad moment, and we both just looked at each other and started crying.
Being there for that was really, really intense, and it had, as his student, it put me in a different role of like helping in every way that I could, and just being there for him when he needed it at all times.
You know, we have this idea about what is good for us, what's important for us, and we attach to that idea. And then when something like an injury, a severe injury hits, it's like reality comes in, boom, hits us, figure out what's actually going on.
And then Sharat came in, my teacher, and he said to me, he said, you have to get better. You have a big heart, and we all want you to get better. So then I remember that like very strongly, and little things he says stick with me. So then the next day I decided I wasn't going to let this get me down. I started practice again, and I started to move with the breath. So the next day I raised my hands, and I inhale and then exhale. I try to come up with some sort of forward fold. And it felt good.
It was crazy to see him devoted and dedicated to practicing right away.
That planted a very, very small seed the next day that I could always come back to that, just that moving a little bit with the breath and coming back to the part where it's feeling good.
Any injury actually has the possibility of offering us a subtlety of existing, a subtlety of introspection that we rarely experience when everything is just working, when our body is working, when our asana is just working. It is like the perfect mirror to begin to look at ourselves and what's going on inside ourselves, how we react, how we think, how we feel when things are not ideal.
Day by day I worked through the practice. It was very difficult at times. Started first with the wheelchair, and then I started moving to the floor, more and more postures. Then I used lots of blocks and props throughout my whole practice. I think when we have an injury or trauma, we start to think, oh, I'll just wait. I'll let the body heal, and then I'll practice. I think what I found useful for me is to practice around that injury as much as you can do. And part of the yoga practice is discovering new places in you.
One of the biggest lessons that I got from John's injury was to try to meet sort of where you're at and to just see what happens that day.
For me, throughout this whole process, the practice was so healing because I just did it every day. No matter what, I wanted to come back to that awareness and just bring a little bit of breath and life day by day. Most of the practice is that there's a huge impetus on our own self-inquiry to find out how we're feeling in different parts of our body, to shine the lights on all of these different junctions and see if we can move in a way that's more intelligent, and to also bring circulation and life, prana, into those parts. So for example, a posture that maybe when I started, it was pretty easy for me to do. I think maybe within a month of practice, I could do Lotus Padmasana, and then I slowly got better and better at it. When I had the accident, I had to completely learn that posture. And it was harder than it was when I first did it. There was a new light that had been shown onto a part of my body, a part of my mind really, that had never been there. So we tend to think of these injuries as something that breaks away a part of us, but in this case, I got to go through the process of learning a new posture.
It's so important in this practice and like this self-studying process to be very aware what we've been cultivating in our sadhana practice, because like we get like so much attached with, and sometimes we like misled the understanding about the practice. That is also like seeing what is rising to our minds into our process.
We have the possibility to use this issue as a seed of knowledge, and who knows, maybe even extract some wisdom from the whole situation. Am I gonna drop into hopelessness, into despair, into self-pity and just give up? Or am I gonna giddy up? Am I gonna wake up and gradually begin to put my mind to what it takes to get back to where I would like to be, to get back that thing that I love so much. In this case, my asana practice, my yoga practice.
practicing again at the Shala, you know, there's uncertainty of what's going to happen and what your body is going to be able to do.
Being in his environment that he enjoyed very much, I think makes all the community very happy.
And yeah, he's back to keep learning and keep sharing what he's learned, and it's really nice to be here again with him.
I know that having gone through the accident that he went through and going to complete rehabilitation, not only to be able to walk around and exist in a normal life, but really to come back into the advanced poses has been such a testament to his commitment to the practice and a testament really to his love, his devotion, and his faith in the Ashtanga Yoga method. I would actually say that the advanced poses would be difficult for any person, any average flexible person, any average strong person, let alone someone who was in a devastating accident just a year ago. So to take the practice and use it as a methodology for healing, to take the practice and use it as a road to understand yourself and the gift of life is really what the whole practice is about. So the poses are really never meant as ends in themselves, and no practitioner, however advanced they are, should really measure the efficacy of the spiritual journey by whether or not they can do an advanced pose. However, at the same time, the journey into any pose is about healing and teaching yourself what is that deeper lesson. So as the practitioner like John leaves his practice and comes back into it after a period of healing and integration, I think what happens to any practitioner is a renewed appreciation for the nuance, the small detail, the gift of the practice, so that you wake up each morning and you cherish every breath, that it no longer matters if you do a deep back bend or if you get your leg really far down behind your back or behind your head. What matters is that you have the gift of life another day, you have the gift of practice another day.
While I'm still getting these postures, I'm now in this place where I have to decide what I want to do with this rod that's still in my femur. Now comes the real dilemma of, do I take this rod out? Do I, leave it in and still practice the way that I'm practicing now? If the doctor thinks that it's a really good idea, then I'll do that and I'll just start over again. There's a famous yogi, Milarepa, who, as part of his penance, is told by his teacher, Marpa, the translator, to build these houses and temples. And as soon as he lays the last stone, is told, oh, this cornerstone is in the wrong place, or this temple was built in the wrong direction, and so he has to tear them down. And he goes on and on like this, building and tearing down these temples. In a way, our bodies are the same thing, whether it's our femur, or our knee, or even our whole body. It's how we relate to that process of building and tearing down that is where we find yoga. It's how, when we learn that we can't get up from the side of the road, or that maybe we can't come up from Karandavasana, how the yoga, or our potential for practice really is in that moment of how we respond to that. Whether we bring light into that and we keep digging and searching and try to find hope, or just spiral downward into despair. And it's really our choice.
Any accident that any spiritual practitioner could face is not really an accident. Instead, it's an opportunity to use the deeper relationship of the practice to discover why we're all here.
And it can be really fun. A little scary, but it can be really fun.
Get back,